Hey, Daniel, it is. Guess what? We haven't done this in a while, but it is deep dive
We
with
have
Daniel
not.
time. Yeah, I know.
We're
So,
back.
so you're back. The fans all said you've just got to have this show back on again. We need to hear again from Daniel and his deep thoughts.
I've always wanted to be back by popular demand, not by
There you
force.
are. There you are. And you were not forced. Well, sort of. All right. So anyway, usually we're gonna talk about financial things as well. I guess you don't always have to, but I mean, since it is a deep dive, that's probably the best thing we should dive into. But I mean, you never know. There could be one-offs and stuff. So anyway, welcome back. Let's get this thing going. Your first subject on the return is the covers, a magazine cover indicator. So I remember you doing the lipstick indicator and a couple other things. There's several financial terms I had never heard of before, but I've learned over the course of the year. So this is a new one, the magazine cover indicator. Oh yeah, and it reminds me of the Madden cover every year because that's sports, that's video games. So back it used to be there was a curse every time that the athlete was put on the front of the cover, it cursed them, and they ended up either getting an injury or were terrible that year or whatever it was. So this kind of reminded me of that. In fact, you even used the word curse in one of the paragraphs to describe it. So um, this is like a reverse indicator. Is that what you're saying this is?
Yeah, it's a contrarian indicator
Mm.
is kind of the theory. So, what happens, and it's actually probably the most famous with the magazine The Economist, is
Mm.
that anytime they make a bold claim about a company, kind of specific segment of the market, where something, if it's dead or if it's booming, it always seems to kind of indicate a top, right? And so I don't believe I talked about it in this specific article, but the way I actually learned about it, they were talking about it, right? And they had shown a cover of The Economist for like Nokia, I believe, and it was like, will the king of cell phones ever, die, right? And it was like that kind of marked the top of Nokia, and then like the iPhone came out, like, so
Yep,
it's
yep.
like it's kind of funny.
It reminds me of, and of course, you know what I'm going to say. It reminds me of Pump and Dump, and some of these magazines, I'm sure, have made some under the table money from declaring these things, just like, of course, what I've seen over the past few years, which is illegal, pump and dumping. What's it called though? Oh, it's got another term. When a journalist writes about something, they're paid to do it, and
I
to
don't
try
know.
to tear down the stock. Um, Iceberg Research wrote articles and stuff like that. So anyway, it's illegal to do that, but
Darren, in this case, I won't even play devil's advocate. I'll actually just disagree with you and say that these journalists are just not good at their job, and these magazines report on the past. And if they were actually good
right?
about predicting anything in the future, then they would work at a fund or make more money. But
Yeah,
instead, they're
yeah,
a economist writer, and they study journalism, not economics or finance or whatever.
yeah. I don't know. I just feel like, hey, go write about this being so great, and then we will make sure we get our bids in to take it down. So I don't know. It's you know how I think. So it's always
Now that being said, if Nancy Pelosi was on the board of US Aid, and there was a lot directed towards different news and magazine companies, why the government pays $6 million for New York Times subscriptions, I don't really know, but yeah, I could see that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. So this I mean, it makes sense, though. I would say that it also could apply to the flip side, which is when they tear something down and saying it's gone and it's no longer good, and all of a sudden now it's the best thing since sliced bread, right? I mean, it kind of works both ways. I know you were doing mainly the fall, but does it also happen the other way around, saying this is over, and then it all of a sudden does well?
Yeah, so there are no pictures in here, but if you look up like the
Right.
magazine indicator, I shared it in our group chat. There's this
Hmm.
great picture of every time the economist has declared oil dead, it typically marks the bottom of a point and it rallies. And every
Yep.
time it says kind of oil's back, if you will, it almost typically marks the top and declines. So it definitely can kind of go both ways. Even just in broader media, think about we talk about it in here, all the times that Bitcoin has been denounced as dead, right? There's actually somebody who tracks, it's called Bitcoin obituaries, that Bitcoin has been declared dead 470 times since its invention, and it's gone from essentially $0 to 90K today.
Hmm.
So, there's definitely something to be said for it being a contrarian of going up as well, not only just down.
I know you keep saying it's because they don't know what they're doing, but I don't know. It just seems like with the timing of it that it's planned. But you know me, I'm Mr. Narrative. Um, so what if let's say that we accept that that's mostly the case? What are the things that we as investors can do to take advantage of that indicator, if you will?
Yeah, I mean, I think you look at the story, see what it says, and pull up a chart, right? Like if you see a story that's like Tesla is the next hot stock and it's been rallying for 2 years and has had an all-time high, it's like maybe maybe that's also not the time to invest, right? And maybe you go read, in that case, like maybe you go read Tesla stock filings, right? There's information you can read, see what they got coming up. Maybe they're forecasting stagnant growth, in which case, like, oh, this is maybe not the best indicator, because you have to remember that one, these magazines write about the past, not necessarily the future, right? Because we already talked about it. If they could write about
Hmm.
the future, they would be a hedge fund and they'd make money. But hedge
Right.
funds struggle to make money, so that's pretty tough. The other thing is that how does any media outlet sell? It's all on FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt, right?
Yep. Yep.
So whether it's up or down, they want to make you fearful that you're in the wrong position, make you uncertain, make you doubt, right? Because it's those headlines that get you to buy. So think of the emotional response it triggers, if that makes sense, and what the contrarian take to that magazine article might be. So it might just be right.
So I remember the term now, which is specifically spelled out to be illegal. It's short and distort, and that's the term used that the SEC uses. That if they could ever prove it, it's hard to prove, but boy, sure looks like it's happened a lot. So that would be on the downside. They would short and distort it, and then boom, take the price up. Um, it's. I mean, there's no way to prove it. I mean, and we certainly won't prove it over the next 4 years with this administration. I could go all night with all the
They're getting a little
regulations that are going
looser on
away.
the regulations than I
Oh
thought they would
man,
have.
they're dropping cases. I mean, and now Google, I read today,
Well, to be
is
fair, I think that them dropping all the crypto cases were good. I think those were all pretty atrocious. But I have no comment on anything outside of the crypto cases.
yeah. So it's your first name is Bitcoins, last is Applehead. Oh yeah.
Hey,
Um,
hey, hey. Okay. When Coinbase for years has been trying to get regulatory clarity from the SEC of what to do,
what an equity is.
won't get it.
Yeah.
They make whatever a yielding product, right? And then the SEC comes after them after the fact, I think is atrociously wrong.
Yep.
Now, anything outside of those crypto ones that I have a strong opinion about, I don't know. Maybe they're not right to drop the case on.
All right. So your point is that it's not 100% thing, just like anything in finance. It is. You should always use all the indicators. And gee, you suggested actually doing your own research and doing a deep dive and making your own decision. At least maybe that gets you pointed in the direction to be looking. And like you said, just use it as part of the arsenal as they love to say in finance, not the only arrow you have to shoot. So, anything else you want to say about wrapping this up here?
Well, yeah, I'll actually just share a quick study I read
Okay.
that you made me just think of, is that, you said it's not 100%, which it's not, of course, right? And there's a study done of, it was regular people, and I don't know if they were like hedge fund managers or like, active Wall Street traders, but they were professional traders. And then you had like regular, kind of retail traders or just like people. And they did this experiment where they gave them, from the past, 12 news articles or like just the front page of the news, right, of like the Wall Street Journal or something, and they had to predict what the price or what the movement of the market would be the following day, hypothetically, right? And because there's real data, right? Because we know how the S&P moved after that news was published.
Right.
It was even knowing the news ahead of like when the market was going to move, the retail, actually both the retail and the hedge fund trader guys were only right like 30 or 40% of the time. So even knowing the news ahead of time, you're not likely to make the best trade. But what separated the professional traders from the average trader is that when they had higher conviction in their trades, they traded a larger pot of their trade,
right.
for that like news event, where when they had less conviction, they traded less, where the other people, did like a kind of Kelly criterion of investing the same amount for every single trade. But so it just made me think of that when you say it's not 100%, because even if you had the news ahead of time, the true news, you'd probably still not be the best trader ever.
Right. I would say that it just reminds me that the possibility of disinformation or misinformation on purpose for nefarious reasons. But like Royce will always say, it doesn't matter what the news is. He doesn't like the news anyway. He doesn't like to, because of what can be done in the news. It's always refer to the charts and see where the charts are telling you to go. See where our indicators are telling you where to go. So I like that. That's what I like to do as well.
Yep. So Darren, if the news is fake, imagine history.
Oof. There you go.
And that's where we'll leave it today.
That's where we'll go with it. Yes. All right. Thanks for bringing in the. I'm curious. Are there any more indicators that you might be writing on in the future? Because I'm sure there's a ton.
I'm sure. Honestly, I feel like I forget about them, and then they pop into my head when we talk.
No, it was inspired last week. Yeah, I think during After the Bell that we said something, and that's what made you think of it. So, thanks for letting us know about this detail. I have learned today, and that's always the goal. So I will see you next week on Deep Dive with Daniel. Bye.
See you next week, Darren.
All right.